I'm expecting quite a few people. I can see everyone was joined. Abisoye, if you can hear me, can you type yes in the chat pod, please? The chat pod should be on the right of your screen. I see Stephen could hear me. I see Famata could hear me. Jalili, Jalili's gone. Obina, if you can hear me, type yes into the chat pod on the right of your screen, please. We have 5 minutes to wait for everybody, and then we kick off the session. So I'm just going to give everyone 5 minutes to get here, and we're going to start. So while we are waiting for everybody to join, I'm going to mention something to you guys because you guys came early. So I think hear this now that you're here. Welcome, Frank. Thanks for joining. If you can hear me, can you please type yes in the chat pod on the right of the screen, please? I can see a few people have joined. Bidemi has joined. Faisal have joined. Guys, if you can hear me, I need you to type yes in the chat pod on the right of your screen so I know that you can hear me clearly. You don't really need to see me, but it's a bonus if you can see me as well. So that you can hear me clearly. So when you ask me questions, I'll be able to respond to your questions. Okay. So the program we're doing tonight is we've got 5 minutes to introduce ourselves, which is just going to be me telling you a lot of people have joined. You can see we've got about 8 of us at the moment. I don't think we're going to say everyone should tell us who they are and all of that, because that's going to take our time. And we have so much to go through. This is the first in a series of classes that I'm planning. And I intend to take you guys through the testing syllabus, the foundation testing syllabus, in a way that is going to be useful for you to remember what you've learned. And additionally, there's something separate from this which is happening. I'm being approached by a lot of businesses, a few businesses down in Nigeria, to help them test their product. So as a bonus to you guys joining these classes, I'm going to give the platform to you. So you will be doing the testing and you will be paid for it. I'll coordinate that, obviously. So that platform is currently being built as we speak. I'm expecting that to go live maybe in another week. Once it goes live, I would email you and let you know it's live. You need to register because I need to know who's on it. And I also need to know that you understand the concept of testing before I can invite you to participate in any paid project. It's going to be called Niger Crowd Testers or Niger Testing Crowd or something like that. I can't remember what it's called now. But yeah, so that's going to be where you practice everything I've taught you, everything you've learned. That will be one way of practicing it. Depending on how much time you've got, you could do it as a full-time job. You could do it a few hours, maybe over the weekend. It depends on when we have project and when we don't. But when we have project, the project will probably run for like a week before we finish it. So all of those information will be there when the platform goes live. But for you to participate, in any of the paid projects, I need to know that you understand what you're doing. I need to know that you're not wasting your data trying to figure out what you know. Okay, so those are the information I'll give you before we start. Also, if you need to ask me any question, please use the chat function because I'm talking and sharing my screen and looking at the screen at the same time. I would not be able to see you if you want to talk or if you put your hands up, but if you type your question in the chat area, I would see it and I'll be able to respond to your question. You can ask me a question anytime. I'll try to respond to as many questions as possible, but I want to go through the whole chapter that I've designed to teach you today, being the first class, in a basic way that everybody would understand. Okay, so I hope everyone got that. This section is being recorded as well as a bonus. So when it's all done and when it's ready, I'll send it out to you so you can listen to this again at your convenience. And hopefully that might give you opportunity to ask further questions. And I'll tell you afterwards how you can reach me, how you can contact me. So those people who just joined us now, welcome to the session. If you can hear me, please type yes in the chat pod so I can know that you're hearing me clearly and we can start the class now. Oh, Frank, you can't hear me. Right, okay, that's one person who can't hear me. Is anyone else having problems hearing me? Frank, check the audio connection of your laptop. See if your microphone is mute or if your speaker is on mute. Check all the connectivity on it. Alternatively, you can disconnect and reconnect. See if that works for you while I put my presentation up for you. So, so today, I want to talk to you about fundamentals of software testing. And I've put part one on there because there are quite few things to cover as a fundamental of software testing. Uh, Jalili is struggling to hear me. You can't hear me. Let me see. Jalili, you connected through your phone and now you've lost voice. Let me see. Everything is okay here, Jalili. Okay, you can see the slides. That's fine. I don't know why you can't hear me. Um, Let me see if yeah, all the setting is fine here. Don't know why you can't hear me. Yeah, right. Okay, Jalili, someone said you should try to restart your well, you're connecting through your phone. So I guess I should just say disconnect and then reconnect. Frank, I think you just need to end your session. Guys, if you are connecting on your laptop, it works better if you're connecting, if you're using Chrome. So please use Chrome instead. Don't use Microsoft Excel or Edge or anything like that. Chrome works better here. So, right. So we're talking about fundamentals of software testing. I've called this part one because there are a few things to teach you. Okay, someone else says once you reconnect, you get a prompt to unmute sound. So tap to unmute. I think you should just, because the person that wrote that, Jalili, the person that gave you that advice is connecting through their phone as well. So you need to disconnect, reconnect, and you will get a prompt. Hi, Austin, how are you? Right, so let's kick on because we are 5 minutes behind now, so we've got so much to do. Right, so I need you to pay attention to this first screen because yeah, you could use mobile. You could connect from anyhow convenient for you. You could connect from mobile. Mobile should work automatically because you'll get all the settings of your phone anyway. I'm just advising people who are connecting through their laptops. Right. I need you to pay attention to this first screen. In the middle of the screen, there are a few keywords that I've written there. Learn software testing the right way. Now, awareness, desire, knowledge, action, repeat. Now, in the world of software testing, the skills that everyone needs, that I tell people a lot, you need to be aware. You need to know what's going on. You need to understand what you're doing or what you're about to do. You will soon find that out once we start the lesson itself. But I need you to pay attention to this first screen because we'll come back to it, okay? Right. So, what is testing? What do we understand testing to be? Now, testing has so many definitions. There is a textbook definition, there is industry definition, there is practical definition, there is definition given by experienced people, people who have been doing testing for a long time. So there's a lot of different definition. But software systems now is an integral part of our life. Basically, we can't escape not having software system now because we've got all our life being modeled around applications now. In this day and age, a lot of our life has moved online. So basically, we are in an age where applications is an integral part of our life, software systems an integral part of our lives. And I'm sure a lot of you will have come across softwares that don't work as it should do. You will have come across softwares that you could not use. And you will have come across softwares that you don't even understand what it does. And you will have seen softwares that you enjoy using, you like using as well. So software testing is a way to assess the quality of the software under test and to reduce the risk of software failure in operation. That's the textbook definition of software testing. Some people will tell you software testing is a way of finding out defects from an application, finding out what works and what doesn't work. Some people will tell you that software testing is an activity or a set of activities you do in order to guarantee the quality of an application. My favorite one is software testing is a set of activity I do to extract information from an application or system under test so that I can understand how the system works. So I've given you different definitions. A lot of people define software testing in a different way, in so many different ways. There's no one right definition, but there are so many wrong definitions. So let's focus on the right one. You could define it in any of the ways that I've just defined it for you. Okay, is a process. Software testing is a process that includes so many processes, and it includes so many activities such as planning, implementation, analysis, designing, execution, reporting, defect reporting, management is a conglomerate of activities, tasks that you do in coordination to assess the readiness, the quality, the effectiveness of an application under test. Okay. Um, then when we go into testing, we set objectives. Right. Fundamentally, the objectives are the same, regardless of what application you are testing. The reason you are testing the application is the same, whichever way you look at it. And whether you are in the financial industry or the healthcare industry or the aviation industry or utilities or any industry at all, your objective is the same. Now, the objective, we can categorize them into simpler forms so we can understand it. So I'll run you through that as well. Now, when we test softwares, we evaluate the software. So basically, I want to evaluate what the requirements are. Does it fit the requirement? Does it do what it says it should do on the thing? For example, if you use your bank app, for example, and it says, oh, you could do online transfer or you could do money transfer from your banking app. When you go into your banking app, you expect to be able to do that. Now, in testing, someone will have done that as a test case. Right. Okay. This is one of the requirements. I should be able to transfer money. Someone will have taken a pen to paper and write it down. Right. I should be able to do that. And they will have done it. Okay. That is you saying, right, I'm mapping the requirement of the application. I'm evaluating what the application is doing. Hi, Yusuf. I'm still here. I've not disappeared or go anywhere. I'm still here, by the way. I hope everyone can see me because Yusuf was like, he can't see me. I'm still here, still talking. Yusuf, can you hear me? The other thing we tend to do is to validate. We want to validate whether the objective we've set for ourselves are measurable, achievable, and we can achieve it in time for the application to go into deployment. Okay? We want to validate that the test we've written or designed for the application is similar to the user stories or user cases that the end user will use. There's no sense in me testing something in a way that no one would ever use it. Like if I'm trying to use my mobile phone, if I'm given my mobile phone to test and I want to test it, but instead of trying to make a phone call with it, I decide to smash it on the floor or throw it into the bin or something. No one is going to do that unless that happened by accident, even though that's a valid test. So I need to design tests that reflect how the users will use the application. So that's how we validate it. And also, objective, we need to provide assurance. Now, the assurance we're providing is such that the application is ready for use. Okay, we need to give the stakeholder enough information about the application to let them know or to give them enough information to make the decision to either ship it or not. Shipping means it's ready for deployment. That's a term we use in the technical circle to let you know something is ready to go. Okay, so and much more importantly, we test to find defect. If there are 1,000 defects in the bugs, defect faults and all of that in the application, we want to find as many of them as possible because that is what we do. And as we go on into the class, you would realize that is what we do. And that's one of the key reasons we test actually. Another reason, another objective of testing is to build confidence. There is a part of testing called user acceptance testing, where you bring the end users in to come and play with the application before it's live. And this is what we will be doing on our testing platform when we launch it in a few weeks. So basically, we have access to application that is not live yet, that no one else have access to except us testing. And we're trying to build confidence that the application will work, the application is useful, user would use it, it will do what we said it would do, it will fulfill the requirement, to do all sorts of things. We're building confidence of the end users, like, oh, you don't have to be scared of doing this. Like, for example, when online banking first started, I know a few people, my dad included, who refused to do anything except go to the banking hall. They just want to go to the banking hall. They believe their money is safe when they physically stand in the banking hall to do their banking. A lot of people did not want to use online banking. Now we've even moved further away from that. We've moved into mobile banking. Now, there's still a few people who are worried, like, oh, is my money safe? So those are the kind of things that testing do to boost confidence of the people. To say, you know what, you can actually use this. It works. It makes it easier for you to do X, Y, Z, and all of that. So that's why we do testing in a nutshell. There's a whole lot of other reasons. There's no definite list of objective. I'm just giving you the key ones that applies to everyone. If you're doing testing, it applies to you, regardless of which industry you're doing testing from. So those are the most common ones, okay? Now, let's talk about the legal obligation of it. When you're trying to build something in so many countries, there is a legal obligation that you have to fulfill before that application or system is approved for use. I'll give you an example. Most of you might have NAS in the UK. You can Google it afterwards. It's our health service in the UK. We have three basic uh, obligations to fulfill whenever we're testing any healthcare-based product. The first one is the product must not contribute to patient death. So no one should be killed as a result of using any application we build. Okay? If that happens, someone is going to jail, something's going to happen, but it has never happened. I hope it never happens, but that's one of the key things we have to look out for. The second thing we look out for is it must not lead to loss of revenue. So if you build an application for our employer, the application must not cause them to lose money. Now, if it causes them to lose money, everyone will be out of job. They will sack me, sack everybody because they don't have any money anyway. Okay. And another thing we look out for, which is legal obligation to us as well, the government made it mandatory that no one should be stressed as a result of our application. Okay. So when we put an application in, new or upgrade or updated, no one should feel like, oh, I can't do my job now because you've just put another system in. No. Everyone should be able to do their job like nothing has changed. Okay? So those are the things that we look at, that we set as objective when we're going into a testing. We need to fulfill this regardless of which industry we are. There are further classes later that deals with this in detail, so I can actually show you how you can fulfill all of these things. But this is the introductory part, so we'll just go ahead with it. So we're talking now about testing and debugging. So who does testing? Okay, who actually do testing? Now, we're saying we are testers. You guys, some of you want to become testers. I've been a tester for the better part of 18 years now. We do testing. That is what we do. But there are some other people who do testing, who don't regard themselves as testers. Some developers, in fact, a lot of developers do testing. Okay, developers do something we call unit testing. So developers write the code, they test their codes. That's testing. Okay, now everyone checks something People do checking. Now, some people would say checking is a type of testing. Yes, that's correct. It is an informal test method where you check something to see if it's working, you check if it's durable, you check it. Checking might even be something you're trying to break, like the old Nokia phone. If you want to bend it or do something, you're checking whether it will break or something. Okay. Now that's testing. Now, what about debugging? Now, debugging is a form of testing because debugging comes after writing your codes. You've run the code, you find bugs. Now, we'll come into definition of bugs later, but generally, developers tend to do debugging much more than testers. Testers don't do debugging. In a way, that's another form of testing. But this usually happens on the code level when developers have written their codes and they've run the code, executed the codes, and they come up with a few red lines on their screen, a few unreadable Java thing on their screen. And they try to fix it, and that's debugging. They're trying to fix the bugs to make sure the code works as expected. Okay, so what's the difference between this? Fundamentally, there's not a lot of difference. In practice, there's a lot of difference because for you to do testing, you need to understand the things I'm going to teach you tonight, or some of the things I'm going to teach you tonight. For you to do debugging, you need to understand what you are building in the first place. That means you need to be a developer. So the two sound different. On the surface, they are the same thing. Scratch a little bit beneath the surface, they are different. But I'll leave the explanation of that for now. As we move on, you would see, you understand this more, okay? And don't forget, if you have any question, just type them out for me. I'll address them as I go. But I don't want to stop because I need to get on this quickly so we can go as far as we can in time, okay? Right. So why is testing necessary, right? Now, testing, testing is necessary because we want to be sure that the application we're putting out there is going to work. It's going to do what we say it will do. Imagine you checking into a hotel and you want to use the bathroom, and on the bathroom there is a shower. On the left you have hot water, and on the right you had cold water. And yes, we're still live, Austin. Yes, we're still live. I guess you can't see me. Can anyone see me? Can everyone hear me? Let me know if you can hear me or see me. Um, so, um, so if you want to use the shower and you see that one is labeled hot water, one is labeled cold water. If you turn the cold water, what do you expect to get? Cold water. Now, if you turn the cold water and you get hot water, you are going to burn your skin. Now, that's exactly why testing is necessary. Someone needs to physically go there and test it to make sure when you turn the cold tap, you get cold water. When you turn the hot tap, you get hot water. That's why testing is necessary. Okay? Now, rigorous testing, it helps. It does contribute to quality. But testing is much more than, yeah, I'm sitting down here now, I'm going to start fiddling through, I'm still clicking button, no. It's a set of tasks coupled with documentation, coupled with methodology that you do in coordination to assess the quality of a product. So that's why testing is necessary. Testing is also necessary because every development is for reading of defect. Okay. Now, if we ship that without testing it, all of those defects will be found by the customer. Now, that is a bigger problem to solve. I don't know how many of you know NASA. NASA built a lot, loads and loads of application, okay? Now, let's imagine that when they built the Apollo 11, they didn't test it. They didn't test it at all. They just build it, fire it on, and send it in. We've lost a few aircraft to crashes and all of that, so I'm not going to take that lightly because that's not something to take lightly. But let's say something like that then happened. Who do we blame? Is it that, are we going to ask the question, why did we not test it? Are we going to say, right, we should have tested that? So testing is necessary because you need to guarantee the quality. You need to provide assurance of the quality of the application you are putting out there. That's why testing is necessary. Okay. And testing also might be a contractual obligation for you in order to be able to sell your application. For example, if you buy a TV, your TV comes with manual. Electronics comes with a lot of set guidelines that you must fulfill before you can sell them. In the medical industry, if you find a medication that will cure an ailment, for example, no one will take it from you unless you can prove that you've tested it. And we're still talking about testing. It's all testing. So if you do something, if you develop something, if you build something, you need to test it. Once you test it, you can then tell people or tell anyone that this is what it does. This is how it does it. If you don't test it, you won't know. That's why testing is necessary. Okay? So I'm going to move on now. Right. So that's the first chapter. Now, let's recap. On the first chapter, we talked about why testing is necessary, objective of testing, what testing is actually, the difference between testing and debugging. So those are fundamental things we all need to understand. And those are bare definitions, really, nothing extra. Now, the second chapter of this session is why testing is necessary. Now, I'm going to go into a few more details now, okay? So let's go for it. Actually, I think, yeah, that's chapter 1. Now, this is chapter 2. So this is just the highlight of it. So let's go into a bit more details now, okay? Now, when we say testing contribute to success, what exactly do we mean, okay? Now, since the beginning of time that we start using computers and all of that, it is it's common. It still happens till today to have softwares or systems or applications delivered into operation, and due to presence of defects, the application fails and people can't use it. It might even be an upgrade. It might even be an update to a system, and somehow we have a few applications that went live that people can't use. We have a few systems that were deployed that failed, basically failed because it's riddled with defect. No one could use it. Okay, now I'm going to quote a few things for you here from my notes because I need to get this right. Okay, now when we have testers work closely with system designers, while the system is being designed, we are increasing the quality or the end quality of that product. Okay, because once you get people involved in it at the design stage, they have a better understanding of what you're trying to do. And once people understand what you're trying to do, they can interpret it accurately. That word, accurately, is very important. So when we, as testers, write our test cases or design the test cases, we can have a very robust, correct interpretation of what you told us your product should do. Now, this is where our expertise as testers come in, okay? So, for example, if you have testers review requirements, for example, so if I say, I need an application that can, I need an application that can order me a taxi for example, and take me from point A to point B. Okay, and I engage the developer to build it, and I engage the tester at the beginning. And the first thing the tester will ask me is, where is your requirement? The document we ask for is called requirement specification document. So basically, it's a catalog of requirements of the application. What does it say the application should do? Okay. Now, when we sit down with the designer to see what they are designing, we gain an understanding of the system. So our contribution will lead to a guarantee, a certain guarantee that this product would have a certain quality. Okay. Now, when we sit down as testers with developers, now once the developers get it and they start developing and writing codes, we as testers, using different techniques, different methodologies, different documentation, we can sit down, query the developers what they're doing, or the developers can tell us what they're doing, how they are going to do it, how the application is structured. So when we are testing it, we ensure that all of our tests are valid. Now, if you design test that is not valid, you are not entirely contributing to the quality of the product, right? You may be contributing to the product in itself, because those questions might raise other questions, but you have to do valid tests. Jalili, you don't have to be a developer before becoming a tester, not at all. Some people do. You don't. Testing is a different career on its own. It's a different way aside being a developer. And no, being a developer would not make you be a better tester. No, not at all. The two are parallel lines, even though they work together. Okay, you don't have to be a developer to be a tester. You don't have to be a developer to be a very good tester. Not at all. You just need to be. You can be a tester regardless of anything else. And that is one of the key points that I formed the group about. I want you guys to know that testing is a career choice. It's a standalone career choice. So you don't need to be a developer of anything. In the future, in subsequent classes, when we start talking about automation testing and automation tools, then you have a better understanding of how developers can do testing and why a lot of people think they are better testers, which in my own view, they are not. But I don't want to give you a spoiler because a book is coming about that. So we'll talk about that later. Okay, so testing contributes to success of product. Okay, so when we've sat down with designers and developers to design the test, develop the test, and we run it, now all of those tests that we've written, that we've designed, we will validate them. So the time we are speaking to the designer and the developer, there's no application to test. So we're literally asking questions, taking notes, writing things down, sticky notes on the wall, on the face of our laptop, everywhere, sticky notes, because there's no application, there's no interface, there's no GUI, there's nothing. It's just word of mouth. The designer will tell me, so the structure of the application is going to be like this. There's going to be a button there. There's going to be a column here. That's all we got. Nothing else. And then the developer will come in and tell us, well, I'm going to write this in this, like, the UX is going to be like this, it's going to be like that. That's all we've got. There's nothing to go. But we are testing at the same time they are building. In subsequent classes, I will teach you about the V model methodology. But being the first class, that's too heavy for this class. So I'm not going to go that far. Okay. I just need to give you basic understanding of this so you understand why we're doing what we're doing and how. So once we sit down with the designers and the developers, we'll end up with some documents, some tests that we've written. I should be able to transfer money from this application. Whoever I transfer money to should get the money in time or within specified time. It could be in seconds or minutes. It could be I can only log into my bank account one session at a time, I can't log in 5 different places. Those are the kind of things that we'll end up with. Now, once we've written all of that, we now need to execute those tests on the application. That is the time you see us sit down with our test script and clicking on buttons, recording what it does, typing, inputting data, recording what it does. That's when a lot of people think testers are working. But that is just one part of what we do. The larger part of what we do, people don't see it because it comes with critical thinking, it comes with awareness, it comes with interpretation, it comes with all of these things that is not visible that people are telling us. For example, let me think of something. Say, for example, in the UK, the government said that they're going to help us during coronavirus downtime and all of that. But none of those systems is ready at the moment. It's being built as we speak. So, and to test it now, we only have what the chancellor said, what our prime minister said, what the program manager is saying, what the product developer is saying. There's nothing to click on. There's no system to tap. There's absolutely nothing. At the moment, all we've got as testers is notes, handwritten notes everywhere, handwritten notes, typed notes, sticky notes, all sorts of notes. We're taking notes as they tell us by 1st of June, you should be able to request for £2,500 a month if you're self-employed. That's all I have. That's the test case. I have to test that. We take all these notes. That's what we do. Because at the end of the day, that's all we've got. Okay? So all of these activities that we do forms part of the success of the product development. And we are able to guarantee that the application meets a specific threshold in terms of quality. Okay, so we've sat down with developers, we sat down with designers, we sat down with the stakeholders, we've done our tests, we've reported the test to them, we've given them things to look at. Like, actually, sometimes we find things that it's not really a defect, but we think if you don't put it there, it might be better. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, Snapchat, whoever knows Snapchat did an upgrade, and a lady in the US came out and said, oh, the latest upgrade of Snapchat is rubbish and she's not going to use it. And in about 3 hours or so, something like that, over 10 million people have made comment that it's rubbish, they're not going to use it. And what did Snapchat do? They reverted the change, what it was originally. Now, let's say when they did the change, they actually invited people to test it before they launched it. That would not have happened because people would have given them the feedback before it went live. Say, guys, don't do that. It's madness. We wouldn't use it. So they wouldn't do it. Okay? So that's how testers contribute to success of products. Okay? Now, people talk about quality assurance and testing. Which is it? Which is what? What exactly are we talking about? So I'm asking you to choose testing as a career. Am I asking you to be a quality assurance analyst or what? What exactly am I asking you to be? Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm asking you to be, but I'll tell you the difference first. So basically, quality assurance and testing, they are related, okay, but they are not the same thing. Okay. Now, there is something called quality management. Now, quality management is what links both of them. So let me explain. Now, to control quality or to assure quality, you need to do some things. For example, if you give me a pineapple and I want to give you pineapple juice, okay, I need to slice the pineapple, peel it, slice it, squash it, squeeze it to get the juice out. Now I need to put the juice in a cup and then give you. Now, hang on a minute. All you wanted was pineapple juice, right? And you gave me a pineapple. Now, consistently, if you need people to come to me or if you send people to me to come and get apple juice and you keep giving me pineapple, I need to do some things to make sure anytime anyone comes to me, they get pineapple juice, not pineapple. So the activities that you do to provide that quality in the first place, to provide the product, is testing. Okay, the testing is the planning, the implementation, the estimation, scheduling, execution, reporting, all of that. That is testing. Now, the quality assurance is after we've done all of this activity, right? We've come to a point where this application has, we can designate it to be like 80% ready when we are ready. Okay, we need to maintain that 80% from this day. We don't want the quality to go below 80%. That's quality control. So we need to consistently make sure all of those activities that we are doing, testing, leads us to 80% quality that we've guaranteed already. So we have 100 functions. We've guaranteed that 80 works because we've done 15, 20, whatever activities. So to guarantee that the 80 works, the activities that we continue to do must lead us to guarantee that the 80 continues to work. They are not broken anymore. Now that's quality control. Now assurance means, okay, so we've got this. I can tell you right now that if we launch this tomorrow, it's 80% good. I am assuring you of the quality because I know that the testing, the activities we've done guarantees that. So a lot of people talk about quality assurance and testing. I talk about quality management because quality management is a combination of testing, quality control, and quality assurance. It's the big picture of all these three things. Now, as a quality assurance analyst, you are not entirely a tester. You could start as a tester, but the two are not the same. Because if you are a test analyst, which most testers are, the sort of things you do includes writing your test cases, defining test conditions, designing test scenarios, writing test scripts. If you are not at the lead or managerial level, you have to implement test plan. You have to do defect management. You have to report defect. You have to do regression testing. You have to retest items and stuff like that. Now, that is not what a quality assurance analyst does. Now, the quality assurance analyst will come to you with a piece of paper with a checklist on it. Have you done number one? Tick yes. Number two, tick yes. Number three, tick yes. They are two different things. Because the test analysts do the doing. The quality assurance analyst comes around to ensure that you have done those things. That's the difference. Okay? And it's really key to remember that because when you get all of this knowledge and skills and you go out there and you see people saying, oh, are you in QA? No, you are not in QA. Do you know about QA? Yes, you do. Because as a tester, you know the sort of activities you need to do, that you are doing to guarantee the quality of a product. So you do know about QA. Well, are you a quality assurance analyst? No, you're not. You are a tester. Okay? Continuing chapter 2. So let's look at differences between errors, defects, and failures. And I did mention this a little bit earlier. I'm going to define this in more detail. Now, error. I'm going to explain this to you with some representation of it. So I want to have apple juice, okay? And I told you, being the tester, that, oh, I would like to have some apple juice, please. And you said, okay, okay. And we went to a developer and we told the developer that we need to have apple juice. and the developer agreed. But where the developer came from, or where the developer lives, an apple is a mango. So the developer generally just assumed that what we wanted was what? Mango juice. Okay? That was an error on the part of the developer. That is not what the product owner wants, but the interpretation, the understanding of the developer was wrong. Okay? That's an error. That's a mistake. So an error is a misunderstanding of the requirement. I need to be able to log into one session. Okay, that one session, does it mean one session on my phone, one session at the same time on my iPad, one session at the same time on my laptop, because those are three different devices, and I could log in into any of them. So one session doesn't mean I can only log in at once, regardless of which device, or I can only log in at once on my laptop and then log in at once on other devices. Now, error comes about as a result of misunderstanding, misrepresentation of requirement or fact. So you told me something, this is what I want, Adi, and I believed it to be something else. That's an error on my part, okay? Now, once we have an error, say the developer misunderstood what we're trying to do and proceeded to code based on his understanding, that code will give us a defect. Okay. Now, a defect means it's not behaving as we expected. When I click on, for example, if you go on some website and you click on register, what do you expect? You expect a registration form. Can you hear me? Yeah. When you click on register, you expect a registration form. But if you click on register and you end up with a login screen, or I wouldn't use it. I would just leave it because it's not doing what it says it should. Now, that's a defect. Now, that defect will come about as a result of an error. Okay? Now, we want to catch it at the defect level. One, it's easier to catch. If I test something and it's not what I'm expecting, I can literally go to the developer and say, the expected behavior says it should be 1, 2, 3. But when I did it, I got 4, 5, 6. That's not what I'm expecting. Fix it. We want to catch the problem at that level. Okay? That's why we call it defect. Yeah, some people call it bug. I'll tell you my understanding of a bug in a bit. Okay? Now, failures. If we find the defect, right, or we didn't find the defect, and the product went live, yeah, and someone tried to use it, and the product failed. Now, that failed because we did not spot the defect. Usually, failure comes from the client or the customer. They are the people that will tell you it didn't work. It didn't do what we expected to do. Okay. So combination of error, presence of errors and defect will yield failure. Now, if you have one, say for example, there are some transactions that are volume transactions that people do in millions. For example, think about how many people in one day withdraw money from their bank. That's in billions, hundreds of millions of people withdraw money from their bank account daily. Now imagine if that test case has a problem. That's millions of people will be hungry because they can't get hold of their money. Ain't that right? That's correct, right? Those kind of things, you don't want them to fail. Because if they fail, they are high volume transactions. If they fail, the whole country is going to erupt. Because how would we feel if we don't all get access to our money tomorrow? Yes, Jelili, failure can come about solely because of communication error. Yes, that's possible. Absolutely possible. If you tell me something and I understood it wrongly and I build it and you look at it and say, "Hmm, that's not what I wanted, but it will do," and that application failed. The failure came about by our communication, nothing else. So yes, that's possible, Jelili. A failure can be, it can be caused by anything. It can be caused by communication only or lack of it. Like I always say to people, you can cause defects or bugs or failure either by communicating or not. Now, let me tell you what I regard as a bug. So uh, we have a defect that we found and it's been fixed, and we've tested it again and it worked. And then we upgraded the system and that same thing broke again, and we fixed it again and we retested it and it worked, and we upgraded the system again and the same thing broke and it kept broken. That is telling me that when that thing switches from test environment to live or production environment, it will do what? It will break. Now, I call them sticky defects. They are sticky. Any slight thing they break. Any slight thing they break. That's why they are sticky. Now, when you have a defect in the production environment, that becomes a bug, because the sort of flexibility we have in the test environment, we don't have it in the live environment. For example, if I'm testing your bank app, I can play around with test card, test transaction, test anything. But once it goes live, I can't do that because it's live data. I can't just go in there and start playing around with people's money. No, that's how I define a bug, because then it becomes a stakeholder issue. I have to seek permission from so many people. We have to plan how we fix it. We have to let the end users know. It's a mess. Now, it's a bug because if you know what a bug is, it's those tiny, annoying little insects that if you step on them, they multiply. That's why we call them bugs. Okay? Are you guys following me? Can you get me? Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? So let's talk about defect root cause analysis. Jalili, this will fit into the question you were asking earlier. How do we get to the point where we say that's a defect? That's a fault. How do we analyze it? So let me tell you that. Now, if you look at this image here, there's a tree on a piece of soil. There is some little random berries. Then underneath that, there is the root and a big soil. And there's a guy there standing. So let's call this guy Jalili, for example, because he's the only one that's been asking questions all along. So we'll call this curious guy Jalili. Now, what is Jalili trying to do in this picture? He's trying to find the root cause of the defect. Okay? So when you analyze defect, you know, for example, if we say interest rate calculation functionality, we have someone to build it, and the person who was supposed to build it misunderstood it, and then pass it to a developer who built what was misunderstood, and then we have the interest rate functionality charging people wrong interest rate. Yeah. Now that's a misunderstanding, miscommunication from one person to another to one person to another. So as testers, we'll look at how did this defect came about. We'll go into our requirement catalog to have a look at it. Go and look at the requirement catalog and ask ourselves the question, what is this supposed to do? What exactly does this function do? No? And the way we do that is we write our test cases in a way that is not ambiguous. My name is Adebayo, not my name could be Adebayo. No. You have to be sure. Bima said, can errors be caused by handling error? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, there is something we call defect cluster. Now, if you find a problem in one functional area of an application, there usually is more. So you could cause more errors by handling error. So I say to you, no, I didn't want you to give me mango juice. I want berry. I want berry juice. Okay. How many berries do you know? I know a few. There's strawberry, like blackberry, like blueberry. Which of them do you want? So I've tried to correct your error. I've tried to handle you the solution to the error by giving you more problems. So if you go ahead from there and go, oh, you only want berry juice, and you decide to go, I'll just take strawberry juice. That's all we've got here. That's probably what he wants. No, I want blueberry or blackberry or cherry or anything. Yes, so you can cause more errors by handling errors. Yes, that's quite possible, Peter. That's entirely possible. Actually, I've done that before a few times where I interpreted something wrongly, developed a set of tests that were not valid. Few minutes to presentation of my test plan, I realized that what I did was wrong, and I didn't want to shift my test planning session. So I tried to rush through it, and I not only did I get that wrong, I got everything else wrong as well. So I ended up deferring the session because nothing was right. So yes, that's correct. You could do that. Often it could happen a lot actually. Okay. So we as testers will look at unambiguous test cases that we've written, understand what the requirement says. This is something we call requirement analysis. What does it say should be? Okay. How is it supposed to do it? We understand all of that. Now that is us trying to understand why the defect was there. That's the root cause analysis. Okay. Now, if we don't do the root cause analysis and the interest rate charging function is wrong, what's the effect? Customers will be charged wrong interest rate. Now, what is the cascading effect of this? Now, reputational. Say, for example, you took a loan with GT Bank, and GT Bank was supposed to charge you 10% interest rate per year, but there was a problem. there was there was a defect in their banking app, and instead of 10%, is now charging you 17% interest rate per year. What's the first thing you will say? Ah, GT Bank is scamming me. They're taking my money. Now, that is reputational damage for GT Bank, and that's a bank. Now, think about if that was a clinical application, someone could die. If that was a utility application, say, for example, your electricity supply app, it could put power surge through your house and burn your house down. Remember the objective I did on the first page? You need to always remember that you have to try and hit those objectives. And doing the root cause analysis of the defect is one of those ways to do that, because that gives you opportunity to understand what the problem is. If you understand what the problem is, you will be able to fix it. Now, if you don't understand what the problem is, you might not be able to fix it. Okay? And because the product owner has misunderstood and given the developer something to build, and the developer has built based on the misconception of the product owner, we've now ended up with a product which is supposed to do X, Y, Z, but do A, B, C. And that's going to cause a lot of financial damage, a lot of reputational damage, a lot of physical damage. It could cost life. I mean, we hear stories of people committing suicide because they were scammed, because people stole their money. You know, a lot of things could go wrong. Okay, so we as testers, one of the key things we do is understanding root cause analysis of defect as part of why testing is necessary, because no one else is going to do that. That is our job. Okay. Now, and that's the end of my second chapter. So Please continue to send your question in. I would attend to your questions as I see them. Continue to send them in. I'm mindful of time, so I just want us to do as much as we can. And I'm already 5 minutes over, but I still have a few things to go. So I'm just going to crack on and we'll continue. Now, if you look at this, I want to talk about testing principles and processes. So if you look at this now, first of all, is this a picture of a bird? Type yes or no in the chat function. Let's make this interactive quickly. Now, I'm looking at these three things. If you can see my screen, please. This is supposed to be a bird, but the question is, are these the same bird? These three pictures, are they showing you the same bird? Do you think they are the same? Or why do you think they are the same? If you can see the screen, tell me, someone to answer, please. If you can see the screen, tell me, do you think these three birds are the same? Or do you think they are different? Are they the same? Yeah. Famata said yes. A few people are typing. Jelini said they are not the same. I'm tempted to ask you why, but I won't. A few people are typing. I'll take one more and we'll go. Right. Stephen said same from three different angles. And that exactly is correct. Sheil said yes, but it's a but different part of it are shown. That's correct. Now, testing as context. Okay. Testing as context. Now, the bird you're seeing is the same bird, but from different angle. Okay. Now, if this is all we have just here, we would say, oh, the bird has yellow and blue and black. If this is all we have, we'll say, oh, the bird is inverted. If this is what we have, we'll say, hang on a minute. It's only blue. Oh, two different shades of blue. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about context in testing. Okay. Now, when we look at application, okay, we look at it in context. And I've mentioned a few things about financial industry applications, clinical industry applications, utility, and all of that. Their critical point differs. Or we are trying to ensure that we provide enough quality in the product to avoid reputational damage, financial damage, physical damage. Now, context is something that we testers apply a lot in what we do. Okay? And you guys should always remember that. Okay? You should always remember that. Now, testing doesn't tell me that testing doesn't tell me that there are no defects in a product. Let me quote it here. It says, testing shows the presence of defects, not their absence. Yeah. So testing can tell you that there are defects here, but we can't say categorically that there are no defects in the application simply because we don't know. Even if we tested it and we didn't find any, it's not a guarantee that there are no defects. No. From experience, what I know is every developed application has litany of defects in it. And you could test from now till thy kingdom come and not find any. Yes, Bima, perspective. That's correct. So we need to ensure that we apply context. Now, testing teaches us that we can find defects, but it doesn't say that we can find everything. Now, a tester cannot run all the permuted or combination of tests to test an application. It's simply not possible. If you are given 100 years to test an application, at the end of 100 years, you have things left to test. It's as simple as that. You can't test everything. Now, there's something we call exhaustive testing, repetition. So you've tested a test case and you kept repeating it and you kept repeating it and you kept repeating. It comes to a point where it doesn't find any defect anymore. It doesn't add anything to the quality of the product. You simply get nothing from repeating the test. We call it destructive testing. It has nothing to the test. Okay, so when we talk about what testing teaches us, it teaches us that we can test as much as we can, but we can't test everything. And that's why context matters. That's why we need to look at the different angle of the bird. Also, another thing that testing that we do in testing is when exactly should we start testing? Now, in subsequent classes, um, I'll teach you the different models of testing. But we want to start testing as early as possible. Bima said bugs are usual with application. What I think is paramount is finding fundamentals as a tester. By this, I mean those bugs or errors that have no consequential errors to such bugs or errors. I need to read that again, Bima, so I can understand it, but I'll come back to it in a bit, if you don't mind, please, so I can cover a few more grounds and we can move on. So we can't discover all defects in an application, okay? So you need to remember that, all right? Now, how do we know which area is prone to defect? I've explained to you. Usually, there's something called defect cluster. Once you start testing something and something breaks in an area, there is every possibility that you'll find more defect in that area, okay? So it's a cluster. You find one problem leads to many. You find many problems by finding one. In which order you find them doesn't really matter. As a test manager, I want you to find as many of them as possible. Okay, and context drive testing processes. Like for example, like I said, if we are testing in the NHS, we look at the security, we look at the application we're building. It must not kill people. Now, the guys in the financial sector wants to make sure, as a critical point, that they don't lose money. Okay, the guys in the utility sector, like electricity, for example, they want to ensure that they don't burn down your house by flooding your power supply with high voltage and burning your entire street down. You know, okay. And if anyone tells you that, oh, I've developed this and it has no defect, it's a fallacy. It's absolute fallacy. Absence of error or defect in a development does not happen. It is a fallacy. Okay, so don't don't get fixated on I want to find every defect or I want to try and run all the tests. You simply cannot do that. Okay, now this is an example of a test process. There are so many of them, um, but I just want to show you this as a diagram so you know that this is what a test process looks like. In subsequent classes, I'll teach you different models and test planning and all of that. But as a tester, you'll come across this a lot, like the test planning process. This is how you plan and structure your test. You know, you need to understand the factors that drives your testing. You need to understand what you're trying to achieve. Okay, you need to understand that all of the things you're trying to do, basically, you need to know how you go about doing it. Now, you need to understand the context of it. You need to organize the test plan. Okay, Bima said, I work in the financial sector. Errors is prone and comes with a lot of consequences. Of course, it does come with a lot of consequences. I want to be skilled to avoid such errors that have significant impact on my work. Bima, I can tell you that you are in the right place because I work across sectors, industrial, healthcare, and what you're saying exactly is my daily objective. I want to get to a point where I avoid errors. In subsequent classes, we'll talk more about that because avoiding errors has so much to do with you as a tester, not entirely because of what you are building. So you need to build a repertoire of understanding. You need to understand, for example, Relocating from Nigeria years ago to this country, I realized that the English language you speak in Nigeria is different. So when people talk to me here, they mean different things. When I talk to people in Nigeria, they mean different things to them. Like some years ago, a few years ago, few of my friends would tell me, Ade, you need to slow down when you're talking. We can't hear what you say. Okay. When I get back here and my boss in the office was talking to me, I usually say, slow down. I can't hear what you're saying because it's too fast. So I'm not here, I'm not there, I'm nowhere. But that could easily lead to error. So errors come about with us as individuals. That's a different session entirely, and I'll take that class. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 classes, I'll take that class, but don't worry about it. Okay. So those things we need to be mindful of them. But this is what a test planning class looks like. Okay. All of these things we have to understand them, but there are future classes that will break this down for you. So I'll just put this in here in addition to the document supporting this class, so you can know that all of these things, you have to have an understanding of them as a tester, okay? And then we move on to this. This is something I drew up this afternoon. All of these are documentation. These are the things that we use in testing, okay? Now, the test strategy is the overall document that sits above everything else. It's usually an organization document. You don't need to have more than one of it. You can update it occasionally, but it's usually a Bible of testing for an organization that says, this is how we do testing. End of story. So all sort of testing that an organization does, how they do it, who does it, in what environment they do it, what they use to do it, the tools, everything is defined in the strategy. Now, the strategy will feed into the plan. So if you want to do a project and you are going to do like 3 different test levels, each of those test levels will have their own test plan because they're different. We'll talk about test levels in subsequent classes as well. So all of this document, I've got examples somewhere that I could show you. I'll find ways to show you at some point to see if I can get it. But these are all documents that we use, including these ones. Now, these are things that goes in the test plan. You need to be able to tell how many people you need to run the test, what your defect reporting process is. Now, defect reporting and management, or the entire defect management, is a session on its own, and I'll teach you that. But not today. Today, I'm just introducing you to testing, so you understand if someone is talking behind you, what they mean, what they are talking about, what possibly you can learn from what they are talking about, and all of that. Okay, so now, when you look at this test documentation, this is more in a structured way. This was lifted from the ISTQB, one of their documents I have. Now, if you look at this documentation, there are different documentation for each stage of testing. When you are planning, there are documentation that you need to produce. We call them test deliverables. You need a plan, a strategy, you need an estimate, you need a resource plan. When you're monitoring, and so this is just a visual thing to explain to you what sort of documents you produce at this level of testing. Okay. Now, another thing that comes up a lot when people talk is traceability. Like, people ask you, what percentage coverage do you have in your testing? A lot of automation testers will say to you, what's your true path? What's your coverage percentage? I've got 100% coverage. Now, listen, I don't want 100% coverage. Okay, I just need to be able to tell you, of all 900 requirements you gave us, we've been able to validate 60. So I can show you that this requirement fed this test, fed this execution, fed this result, this XYZ. So I can literally show you all of that. Okay. So instead of me saying I've got 100% coverage, those things are metrics that they don't really add much to what you're trying to do. So I don't get fixated on that. But traceability metrics means you should be able to link your requirements to your test cases, to the test result, so this can be reflected in the test report. So if we have 100 requirements, I should be able to develop test cases for each of them. It might be one-to-one, it might be one, I might end up with 400 test cases. And by 400 test cases might give me 800 test scripts. Now, when I execute those test scripts, I should be able to map them back to the requirement. So when you say, oh, have you satisfied this requirement? I can tell you, yes, I have, because this result guarantees that that's been tested, okay? So that is very important. So when you're talking to your team or when you are reporting to your manager that I've done X, Y, Z, and once we start playing with or testing projects in real time, you need to remember all of this. And this is why I want to teach you guys this before I open that platform to you guys. The 60% BMI is a figure of speech. I'm just trying to tell you that don't get fixated on saying I've done 100% coverage of my testing. 100% coverage doesn't necessarily mean anything, because if I give you more time, you will have more things to test. But I just use the 60% as a figure of speech to say, as long as you can trace everything you've done back to the requirement, I'm okay with that. But if you tell me, oh, you've done 100% coverage and you can't link it back to show me how many of my requirements you've actually guaranteed or satisfied, it's pointless. It's useless to me. Okay. Now, this is an age-long thing that's been going on forever. Testers and developers, why don't we get along? It comes in psychology. So testers think about things differently to developers. Let me show you this. Now, can everybody see this screen? Can you see this? Okay, so I have these two guys sat across the table. One is a developer and one is a tester. Can you guys hear me? Can you see my screen? Okay, so the developer is asking, how can I build it? How can I make this? Now, a lot of people think the tester is asking, how can I break it? In actual fact, yes, we do think that sometimes, but I didn't say that anyway. Right, we do think that, but now the question, the thinking is, how can I make this better? In an attempt to make it better, you can break it, but you won't just go out and break it, because the developer's attitude to the product is, this is my baby, I built this. Now, if you do something and someone walk in and start criticizing you and saying that thing is rubbish, you know how you would feel. So in the past, testers speak straight from the mouth. It's rubbish, full of defect, end of story. They don't get along with developers. Now, the line between development and testing is shrinking by the day. We're losing ground to each other. Okay, because I use automation tools, I know codes, I know Java, I know Python, I know a lot of codes that they know. Okay, so they're losing grounds to me, but I don't want them to see me as I want to break their stuff. No, no, no. I want them to see me as is trying to make this product better. Okay, but this explains a lot to why people think of why testers and developers don't get along. Okay, so these are the first four sub chapters of the ICEP syllabus. So these are the fundamentals, things you need to know. This session is recorded. I'll send it to you. I'll send my notes with it as well. I'll put the notes on the group. If you are not part of the group, let me know. I don't know how, but I think you all have my email address now anyway. Or you can just leave a comment for me that you are not part of the meetup group. We have a meetup group. Please join the meetup group because a lot of information will be on there about the platform as well, about the platform coming. So I've come to the end of my session, but before I go, I'm going to say to you, I'll take your questions as we go. We'll do that, but there's something coming. I will announce the next webinar in a few days because I need to prepare for it, but it might be next week if we are still at home. It might be next week, so we'll continue from where we stopped today. There's something called Niger Test Crowd is coming. So you would be able to access it when the platform is ready. At the moment, it's not ready, it's being built. This is where we'll be doing our crowd testing. This is where we'll be testing live projects. I have 2 projects already that I can put on there that you guys can test using the knowledge you've got. And it's not going to be free. You'll be paid for it. It might be a week long, it might be 2 weeks. I don't know. It depends on the budget and it depends on the client, what the client wants us to do. Okay, my name is Adebayo Jacobsamo, and I'll be taking these sessions. Now, before you go, I want to show you something else. I want to show you a few things that you can see as an example, so you know that this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and pick. Bear with me one sec. I want to share the screen and pick something. Application. I can't find it. I'm trying to show you something that looks like, I think it's this one, share. Right, can you guys see my screen? Most of the stuff that I want to show you, I can't show you because of client confidentiality. But if you can see this screen, this is what a progress report looks like, okay? This is what a progress report looks like. Some people on this session will recognize this because they are part of this project. Now, this is something we as testers will produce, and this came from the test we've done. There are so many things I could show you about this, but I don't want to go there because of client confidentiality. But this is something you will hear a lot more about. And as we go on, you would hear me say that I'm going to tell you about something and I'm going to stop doing something, or I'm going to do something. So, but at this point in time, I'm unable to share a few things with you because because of client confidentiality. BIMA, yes, you can get certified. Like I said to you earlier, I'm following a syllabus. Once you get to the end of the syllabus, I'll point you to where you can write your certification exams. I'll give you access to certification, past questions, and all of that, where you can practice. But I believe that before you get that far, you can actually learn it to know that this is what you can do. And the reason I'm doing this quickly is because I'm a test manager. I've been a test manager since 2005. I've been at the top of my game, I want to believe. But recently, in about 3 to 4 years, I've seen a lot of Nigerians came to the UK and they have no skills, but they ended up with testing CVs. And a few of them ended up in front of me with no skills, but a very good CV. Now, you could leave Nigeria tomorrow. You could go anywhere. Testing is universal skill. You can use your testing skill anywhere, from Nigeria to Australia. And the big thing is, in the testing world in the UK, Nigerians are like 40% of the market. There are so many of us here, and more are still coming, because a lot of people come in here, a lot of people come in, they want to learn testing. A few people have started learning testing from Nigeria. You can take the skill anyway. And I don't even want to start up on what kind of income you can get from testing. Let's not even go in there. I just needed to know that it's a verified, veritable career choice if you want to pursue that. And I'm here to guide you. Okay. So this is the first of the class. There'll be another one. I'll send the information out quickly. For those of you that said you are not part of the group, I want to show you. Can I find the group? Let me see if I can find. I want to see if I can find the group for you. Bear with me 1 second. Let me see if I can actually copy that. Right, so I've got the group and I'll share that now. Okay, I know why. Because the group is on a different. So I've got it now. Okay, so if I come here, you can actually see the group now. It's a Chrome tab and it's this one. So for those of you that are not part of the group, this is the group. We're called Lagos Software QA and Testing Meetup Group. Currently have 129 members. This is where the idea came from to uh, start doing this thing. So you would know that testing is a choice that you could make as a career and you could do it. And all of the resources from here is going to be deposited here. But if you are not part of this group, um, you can drop a message for me here or send an email to tpot@tpot.ng. I think my email is somewhere there. I'm not sure if my email is somewhere there. All right, my email is not there, but you can email me at tpot@tpotng.com, and I'll respond to your email. Does anyone have any other questions so we can wrap this up quickly? Yeah, the group, let me see if I can copy the URL of the group and post it on the forum here so everyone have it. Right, so I'll copy the URL of the group and post it on there so you all have it. So that's the URL of the group. If you are not a member of that group, please join. Um, please join the group because all of the resources from this webinar is going to be on there, and that's where the information about the next class is going to be as well. I'll try to put you on Twitter. We also have a Twitter handle. I think it's called our Twitter handle is called at Lagos QA. So if you are on Twitter, uh, you have to join that, follow that handle, please. Oh, thank you, Jalili. Thank you so much. I think you've been asking all the questions, Jalili. So you've carried the group tonight. You are the favorite class member today, so you win the award easily today. But thank you so much, guys. If you have any question, if you want to know more, if you think of anything else, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm on LinkedIn. If you search by my name on LinkedIn, you'll find me. I'm on Twitter as I think most of you met me on Twitter. Let me see. Yeah, I'm on Twitter as Teapot as well. Um, so you are welcome, guys, to contact me or hit me up anytime. Thank you, Roke. Thanks for the compliment. Does anyone have any other question before we round up? And there are some of my colleagues on this session from the UK as well. There is a Stephen Oki. He's a test analyst. He's a practicing test analyst. We've worked together as well. There is a Frank. I think Frank is gone now. He was a project manager on my last project as well. But this is not a story from someone telling you that this is happening. This is indeed happening. So you can do this, you can learn these skills. At the end of the day, you can get certified. I'll provide all of that information for you. And later, maybe tonight or tomorrow, I'll provide the resources for this session, including the recording for it. And I'll put you on the group. And if you're not on the group, please try to join. And I hope you benefit from it. So thank you very much, guys. If no one has any other question, I think that will be the end of the class. Thank you, Obina. You made it eventually. I was hoping you made it, Obina. Thanks for coming. Um, you didn't accept the invite for a while, so I was really worried. Yes, you will get an email when the date of the next webinar is announced. The meetup group admin is Faisat. She's on this session as well. She'll make herself known to you on the group. I don't know when she's going to do that, but she's the admin of the group. So she's in charge of making sure information goes out to the group because I can't manage the group by myself. So I've add Pfizer to the team so she can manage the group. So she'll be in charge of passing information to you guys. I'm hands-on as well, so I'll do as much as I can do. And hopefully, when the next class is out, I'll see you guys. Thanks so much for coming. I know it cost a lot of data, but and I hope it's been worth it. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you again next time. Have a nice evening, guys. Thank you.